Greetings, thank you for joining us today. Now, as the title would imply, I'd like to talk today about poor design and indeed good design in the kitchen. Now, over the years, I've been through quite a few devices, quite a few kitchen gadgets, and it's often found that the kitchen gadgets that you buy promise a lot and deliver very little. With that in mind, though, let's start off with a good piece of design. I was in Aldi recently, and sub £18, as I recall, was one of these, which is the Ambiano compact food processor, a little chopper basically. It's got decent packaging, and for your £18 you get quite a decent device. It's got a nice weight to it. I like that. It doesn't have to be heavy, but I like a weight on a device, you know. It's got a decent sized motor. It packs a 250 watt motor, and it has a nice solid base with a trim, which I like. It's also available in white if you like that sort of thing. And you've got a little lid with an hole in the top, and the hole allows you to pour in oil and things like that when you're making a diced salad or something like that. Allows you to mix things in. And there is a lock on it so it doesn't fly off, which is really useful, believe me, when you have wipe down the walls of your kitchen. There is a easy to clean, very sharp blade. You only get one, but you probably only need one for the life of the product. Now compare this with some of the other things we've had. This blade came sharp. Sometimes you buy a chopper and the blade does not arrive in a sharp condition, and well, it's a curved blade. Good luck trying to sharpen that unless you're an expert with a whetstone. Not that we're going to need to with this one. This is a good design. I almost sliced my fingers off. Now the little jug allows you to pour reasonably easy with a lip on it, and it's sturdy and it's good, and it locks into place. Now, key thing with this device, it really performs very, very well. We don't do anything really heavy in our kitchen. We make sofritos, we make little pastes, we make diced up peppers, we make salads, light things. And the heaviest thing we ever make is a pepper sauce. You know, I mean, peppers. You chop them up finish first and you give them a whiz in this with it. Anyway, suffice to say, we're not expecting it to do much. But previous blenders haven't been able to chop things down. What you'd find is that the blade, the offending article, the blade would not skate close enough to the bottom of the jug to effectively chop everything, and you'd end up with a mash of partially chopped product underneath your blade, never seeing the light of day, never seeing the light of the blade. So you'd have to take it out and chop it manually. Very, very irritating. Now, in the case of this little device, you might be able to see the bottom blade, which is there, skates very close to the base of the jug, which is a good thing. And the upper blade, which is there, I think you might be able to make out, that's not too far above it. So the idea is, you know, it chops and it chops well. And that's it, really. Also, good features I like include nice locking lid. I did say that, didn't I? It has covered switches. And now this is a good thing because some of your devices will have lots of ways for water and the things you're chopping to make their way into the kit, to make their way into the switches and give you a horrible electric shock. Whereas this is covered with a nice plastic film, and the switch is hidden under there. It's not going to be perfectly waterproof, but it's going to save you a little bit of an electric shock if it goes wrong. The more things between you and 240 volt mains, the better. And yeah, it's just two buttons, but it does the job. One says mix and one says chop, which is inverted. Anyway, but yeah, great design. Like it. We'll see how long it lasts. Usually, to be fair, when it comes to Aldi products, Aldi tools, Aldi kitchen stuff, Aldi tools, they all last. I've had good experiences. We've got an Aldi chainsaw somewhere. We've had Aldi fence trimmers. That, yeah, they all last. This guaranteed for what? It's sure I saw. Yes, guaranteed 3 years. Should have checked that before I started recording. But I don't imagine I'll need to call on that. By contrast, I shall be right back, clearing the space for something far more offensive. Okay, so we've done a nice example of a chopper. Let's look at what that chopper replaced. One of the things that chopper replaced. We're in the habit of accumulating devices until we get something that works. Not the cheapest way of dealing with it, but if you could buy something that works straight off the shop floor, we would. So, we've had this for about 2 years, and it hasn't been satisfactory since we bought it, really. It's the Kenwood P120 series, if I'm not mistaken. It's written on the bottom in very small text. It's either FP or PP 120 series. It has a 400 watt motor, if you believe the sticker, and designed in the UK, engineered in the UK and built in China. It's clearly designed down to a price. It does have some nice features. Let's run through those. There's the cord winder, which keeps it tidy when it's on the shelf. Somewhere it's destined to stay and gather dust. It has a nice flat surface for gathering dust and grease in the kitchen, and it's relatively easy to sponge down when you've a mind to take it out. Lots of vents so you can see when the motor's burning out and the blue smoke comes out, and lots of vents underneath for the aforementioned blue smoke, and also to allow things to drain out of it. What I also like is the nice decisive action we have on the locking mechanism. In order to allow you to work the machine, you have to lock the chamber first. Now you can have this thing out or in, it doesn't matter, but you have to lock the chamber. So it makes it very tricky for you to get your hands anywhere near a rotating blade. That's a good thing, yeah? Also nice, if it worked, will be the jug, because the jug has a nice sturdy handle. However, what it doesn't have is a way to pour, a pouring spout. If you have a jug like this, you have a multitude of ways for the thing you've just diced to end up on your worktop rather than in the bowl where you're trying to pour it. You could forgive it, but after a while it just becomes a sore point. But the worst part of this design is this. Now, the shape of it is fine. It's a great shape. It's got limited number of sharp edges. Sharp edges that will catch food in them, you know. You've got the blades, which you expect to be sharp, but it's got a nice smooth edge to everything else, which is good because it means that it's easy to clean and you won't get any old food getting caught up in there. Trouble is, straight out the box, this one was blunt. We took it out of a sealed box, straight off the shop floor, blunt, and I imagine they were all supplied like this. So it doesn't matter how much power you're throwing at it, if it's not sharp, it won't cut. And we want to cut things. We want to cut tomatoes, cucumbers, any amount, potatoes maybe some days. We want to cut cheese. We want to cut onions. We might want to cut something tougher like cassava or you name it. Any of the roots, any of the Caribbean favourites, the roots, we want to be able to cut that. Now this thing would struggle to cut even a mushy plantain. a mushy banana, really. So frustrating. The other thing that you'll notice is it's bad by design, because whilst the blades are it's a nice shape, the blades don't skate close enough to the sides of the tank, to the sides of the jug, nor do they skate close enough to the bottom of the jug. So the bottommost blade, well, it does skate low, but when it's installed, it's not quite so low. So the chopping action is defeated by the fact that you will get a layer of things that aren't being chopped underneath the blade, and the blade slowly so it doesn't work, and it defeats its own action. So you end up trying to get a spatula in there to try and bodge the food where the blade might catch it. Vain hope, because what you end up doing is catching the blessed blade, ruining a good spatula, getting nowhere. Eventually, you take it all out the jug and chop it by hand, because that's what it has you doing. Eventually, it gave us a shock. So the missus tossed it in the bin direction, and I decided to show you, of course. Now, before I leave this stinky device, the last thing I'd mention is the switch. Now, a device needs to be accessible to everybody, not just people with a mighty grip. Now, in the case of this switch, it's spring-loaded strongly in one direction, which is the momentary action. And the idea is you can twist it briefly and pulse it, to give something a quick chopping. This spring is really tough, and this is a smooth rotor. So a lot of people who don't have the strength in their fingers, the elderly, the people who just don't have the strength for one reason or another, they're going to struggle with this. Now, it's easy enough to twist it in the other direction, but that is too weak, and it's been that way since we bought it. So you'll twist it this way, and it can sometimes jump across the table and knock itself straight out again. Working against this, of course, we've got 4 little feet with rubber stoppers on those. It needed it. Still didn't stop it jogging itself out of the on position. So now it's going where it firmly deserves to be, in the recycling, and I hope it gets turned into something useful, because for the last 2 years it sure hasn't been. On to the next one. This one is a no-name brand. Well, actually, it's by Prolex, made in China, and allegedly it has a 150-watt motor. Now, this is quite adequate for what it is. It's meant for baby food, someone who prepares very small meals, and it's great for that. It did take a wallop because the cat knocked something off the wardrobe onto it, and it didn't go well. But putting that aside, it lasted. We've had this again 2-3 years, I forget how long, and it's been quite good. It's done the work that the other machine couldn't do. So this can dice up cassava, this can dice up quite a lot of things, and eventually the blade's packed up and it's too blunt to continue. Suffers from the same issue of leakage though. And the other thing with this one, we had a battle with it for a while, because you get again, it doesn't have any way to pour it out easily, but you don't care with such a small amount. You use a spoon and a spatula. But the locking device here is supposed to lock just so. Lock down your slide. There we go, like that. It's supposed to lock onto the base, and then that lets you put in the next part. It goes one way or the other. It only goes one way. There you go. And then you can activate the switch. If you don't lock it in place, you can't activate the switch and turn it on, which is great. Nice, simple action, one switch design. Now, it is possible to put this on the wrong way. Then you'll need an oil filter wrench to remove the wretched thing. No one saw me do that. But I wasn't replacing it. This was within a few weeks of actually buying the thing. So if you buy one of these, I think Aldi sell a version of this. Just watch out for it, really. It is possible to completely screw it up. A nicer design, served with a decent blade. But essentially inadequate for the average family. If you're one person on your own and all you want to do is cut the cat's food once in a while, you know, then it's great. That one gave us an electric shock as well. So, yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Avoid these two devices if you can. Spend a little more, get a better device, or go to Aldi. One of those. Whatever you do. Oh, by the way, I'm not sponsored by Aldi. They've had enough money off me. Goodness gracious. But whatever you do, have fun. Take care. And I'll see you next time.